Bom, pessoal, boa tarde a todos. Então, a gente está começando mais uma mock class. Hoje é a última aula da trilha de Business, Comunicação e Direito. E na semana que vem a gente já vai dar início a uma nova trilha. Dessa vez o tema vai ser de Ciência e Saúde. Então, hoje a gente tem uma aula sobre comportamento organizacional com o professor Sam, da Simon Fraser University, do Canadá. Então, o professor, ele está convidando, a gente conversou com ele já para vocês discutirem no chat durante a aula, né? Tentar interagir com isso. E no final a gente vai abrir também para as perguntas de vocês. Lembrando que hoje, no final da aula, a gente vai ter um sorteio de mais um prêmio para quem participou de pelo menos 3 aulas dessa trilha, né? Da trilha de Business, Comunicação e Direito. E depois vocês podem conferir no Instagram, @efígie, a foto com o ganhador. Não esqueçam também de entrar no nosso canal do Telegram, seguir Efígie nas outras redes sociais. E a gente já vai agora direto para a aula. So, please welcome Professor Sam. You're muted, so...
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to share today.
So, I think you can share your screen and we can just start the class.
Perfect. And can you see that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I just wanted to say the opportunity is of a great pleasure to me to be with you today. I'm calling in from Vancouver, Canada, and it's a class that I will deliver to you on perceptions in business, truth, and there's also components to help you. But for now, buenas tardes from Vancouver. I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker, so I'll leave it at that with regards to my Spanish. But as you can see, Vancouver is such a beautiful place, and I hope that you get an opportunity to come and visit us. Today's agenda, in 45 minutes or so, what I'm going to share with you is a little bit about me, about FIC, Fraser International College at Simon Fraser University. Then I'm going to deliver my mini lecture on the importance of perspectives, storytelling, and some life lessons. So the idea is, apart from giving you a lecture on a business concept of perspectives, I really do want this to also be a part about your own personal and professional development, because this is what I build into my lectures. But first, a little bit about who I am. Who is this person before you who teaches at Simon Fraser University and Fraser International College? But I'm a speaker and a storyteller. I love to tell stories in my class because stories are a way that we can have human connection. Stories are a way that we also get to understand concepts and ideas because it allows us to show examples. I'm also a speaker. So I do about 30, 35 speaking opportunities per year. And I've got 2 TEDx talks that I've done in the past. I'm an author, writer, and a blogger. This is something that emerged a few years back, where I became a writer, and I really enjoyed the opportunity of taking my storytelling and putting it into a written format. I'm also a lecturer, both at Simon Fraser University and at Fraser International College. When I teach my classes, I incorporate a lot of my stories into it. And I really enjoyed the opportunity of sharing with these individuals who go on to do great things. I'm a mentor and a coach. I've probably had about 5,000 conversations to date with young people about their life journey and about the way that they want to proceed on their career. It's a very rewarding place when you're a mentor and a coach. I'm an entrepreneur as well as an intrapreneur. Entrepreneur, I think we have an idea, someone who starts a business, and I've started a couple of businesses. But I also work with a lot of startups, asking them questions about how their business can succeed. But I'm also what we call an intrapreneur. And you may not know what the term intrapreneur means, but it's somebody who works in a large organization like a university, which can be very structured, but they allow you the freedom to innovate and be creative in programming. So I'm an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. I'm also what you call a community do-gooder, an individual who has dedicated themselves to working with community programs. I've worked with about 45 nonprofits over the last 20 plus years because it's something that I really find valuable. All of this helps to make me who I am, an individual who is here not only to teach, but to inspire, engage, and to help and support the journey that you're on. I find teaching is just one component where I can share concepts, ideas, and theories, but how does it apply to the real world? So it's who I am, but I'm going to share with you who I am not. So many people come to me looking for the answers to life because I've mentored and coached so many people. But here's the thing, this is what I am not. I am not an orange saffron bearded man sitting on top of the mountain, and you're here to ask me, Sam, what am I going to do in life? And then I say, my child, you will do this. The monk that you're looking for is within you. My job is to ask you questions so that the responses and the answers, they lie within you. You are your own monk. And I will share that there's enough people there telling you what to do. I just want to know who you are and then support your journey so that you can then figure out the direction you need to go. So I'm going to talk to you about Simon Fraser University and Fraser International College, because this is a really good journey. It's a really great partnership. I've had the pleasure of working at both institutions, and I'm going to share with you how they work and collaborate together and what they really mean. But all of this, preparation is the key. In other words, if you're coming to not just Simon Fraser University and Fraser International College, but anywhere you're progressing to the next step, preparation is going to be the key to your success. So here's a really great way to see it. On the left side is you. On the right side is you and your direction of where you want to go. And FIC and SFU is the bridge between getting you from where you are to where you want to go. So I want to share with you this Maclean's ranking because in Canada, they rank Canadian universities. And Simon Fraser is once again Canada's top comprehensive university, according to Maclean's 2021 ranking. We have been #1 as a comprehensive university, #1 12 of the last 13 years. So what you'll find is this is a really strong and solid academic institution. And what you'll find is Fraser International College is actually part of this community. And I'm going to share how. So FIC is on the Simon Fraser University campus. And I, again, teach at both places. But the reason why Fraser International College is actually a really good option is because you're going to be on the Simon Fraser University campus. And the class I teach right now, there's about 130 students at Simon Fraser University. My Fraser International College class is about 30. So it's a beautiful transition to SFU because when you come to Fraser International College, you're right there on campus. But instead of being in a large classroom where you can get lost, and some classes are maybe 300, 400, 500 people, our classes at FIC are only 30 people, maybe 35 maximum. You do your first year of courses at FIC, and the courses you take at FIC are the same courses at SFU, but much smaller. And you get to transition to SFU. But you're already at the SFU campus, so you get orientated to the university as opposed to being put onto a different campus. Now, you are part of the SFU community, so you have access to the library, the gymnasium, counseling service, clubs and activities. You're part of the SFU community. But the important thing is the smaller classes. And you get to build these relationships with your instructor, which can be really difficult if you have 200, 300, 400 students. So think of Fraser International College as a satellite school at the SFU campus. where you come in, you'll be orientated and taught at the campus at FIC. And then after 1 year, you get to transition to the SFU campus, but you don't have to repeat any of those classes. Your first year is transferred over to SFU. And what we have seen is a huge success rate in the graduating students because they took the time to come to FIC first. Now, it's interesting because, well, since March last year, we've had to convert to online. And I will say it's a different way of education and teaching. What I have found, though, is instead of looking at online education from a problem-based or situation where it's a challenge, I'm going to give you something in a little bit, which is let's reframe it in a different way. And an understanding that many, not just schools, but also employers are looking at online as a way of the world. We may have transitioned into a new realm. But what I'm seeing online is more engagement, more students chiming in to share their thoughts and ideas. And you're still able to access your instructors by going online. It's no different. And some instructors, I will admit, are better with engagement than other instructors. Now, getting started in business at Fraser International College at SFU, well, there's 3 courses in business that are offered at FIC. And these courses are also offered at SFU, but the number of students in those classes at SFU are much more higher. Biz 200, which is an introduction to business essentials. That's a course that I teach at FIC. 216, Introduction to Essentials of Business Communications. So in other words, not only understanding business, but how do we communicate in business? And Biz 251 is an introduction to financial accounting. So you can do these 3 core courses in business, and you'll get credit for these courses, so you don't have to repeat them at SFU. But you also have an opportunity to do some pretty cool electives. It could be on world politics, on health and initiatives, or it could be on communications. So there's some really cool electives that, again, will transfer to your degree at SFU. So here are some activities that I pulled in my classes at FIC. Sadly, yes, we have to do exams. But there's also a group presentation. I give my students a problem, in other words, an organization going through a problem, and then they work in teams to solve the problem. I also get them to do an individual presentation. And the individual presentation, especially if you're not comfortable with public speaking, is an easy one. It's telling me about you. In other words, I give 3 different topics. The first topic, what's your dream job or dream company? Why? The second topic, maybe you want to start a business. What business do you want to start and why? The third topic is, if you're not sure about either of those 2 topics, what about we talk about you? What are the 5 things that make up who you are? I also do what I call micro assignments. So there are 7 micro assignments spread throughout the semester, and these are relatively straightforward exercises, just a couple of paragraphs to see if you understand the concepts. I do discussion forum questions. I'll pose questions in my lectures, and the students can go to the discussion forum and post. And then I do office hours. So if you do want to interact and engage or ask questions, you can during office hours as well. Now, with regards to SFU, because that's, again, where you're going to transition to, there are still programs that are available, things like co-op, clubs. You can go on an international exchange, and then you can also do sports. So if you're very talented, you could get into our varsity team, which is where they represent SFU abroad, or intramural, where you get together with friends. But I'm going to share what is co-op. Well, and in the next slide, but clubs means you can find like-minded individuals and join the club and then put on events. International exchange means where you can actually, while you're a student at SFU, you can actually go abroad and study at different schools around the world. Now, co-op ultimately means it's an opportunity to test drive a job. It's cooperative education. So there are paid work terms that are already there. And let's say if you're interested in accounting, but you're not sure what it's really like. You've done the courses, you've got the theoretical part. So you can actually take a 4 to 8 month term and actually go and work in an organization. And you get paid for this work. And it allows you to test drive to see if you like this job or not. You get to make connections. About 75% of the business co-ops are hired when they graduate because the companies have already worked with you. But you also make connections within the office and outside of the office. So it's like you're going to be giving up a couple of semesters to go and do co-op. And co-ops can be in many different areas: English, communications, health sciences, interactive arts, business, pure sciences. There's co-ops in many different areas. And the thing that's really great is when we look at SFU's co-op, there are 2 really great co-op schools or programs in all of Canada. SFU is one of the 2. Waterloo and SFU have the 2 best co-op programs in Canada. Now, when I teach my class, I talk about myth, theory, and practice. Myth is what we believe the world to be. It's what the stories are. Theory is the logical explanation. And this is what my role and responsibility is to teach the theories. But theories are limited because does it really work in society? The practice is really the place where I want it to be. So myth, what we believe the world to be; theory, the logical explanation; and practice, does it really work? Think of it this way. And this is where I'm going to ask you to go into chat in a minute and send me a chat response. But if you went to the tallest building in Brazil and you threw a penny from the top of that highest building and somebody was down below and they got hit by the penny, what would happen to them? Why don't you go to chat and share with me what would happen to them if you threw the penny from the top of the hill, top of the building? What do you think? Would somebody get hurt? Would they die? What's your thoughts? Just go to chat and type something in, just so I know you're still here. What's your thoughts? So you go to the top of the building, they get 1 penny richer. Alessandro, very good. Yes, they are 1 penny richer, but do they still survive? What do you think? Would they get hurt? Would they die? Nothing happens. What's your thoughts? Okay. Okay, you may be a bit shy then. So here's the thing. Okay, but I do appreciate you, Alessandro, for sharing. Oh, okay. Okay, Susie, thank you. The person could be hurt. They could be happy getting the coin, but it's only a penny. But does the cost of the penny involve the hurt? Okay, here's the thing. So the myth is that if you threw a penny from a tall building and somebody got hit down below, they get hurt seriously, or they could die. And this is what happened with the Empire State Building in New York, where a person went there and said, what would happen? So theory is the logical explanation going, okay, so a penny weighs a gram. And if you throw a penny, wind resistance is going to catch it. And it's going to start to flutter, even if you drop it on its edge or throw it on its edge. And by the time it hits somebody, it's just going to feel like a light tap. So that's the theory, but nothing's been proven. The myth is people have died, people have got seriously hurt. The theory says, but it doesn't. I want to know, does it work? Well, not me, but a professor then went to the people that run the Empire State Building and said, we need to figure this out. And the people at the Empire State Building said, no, we're not going to let you throw pennies from the top of the building and get hit below because people have died. And the professor was, but it weighs only a gram. It's not even going to hurt. And he said, I'd like to prove that. They said, no, it's too dangerous. People have died. He says, well, who died? And they're like, well, we don't know who died, but people have died. And they never let him do the experiment. So we've got the myth, which is what we believe the world to be, that the penny is going to kill somebody or seriously hurt them. Theory, which says, no, it's not going to do that. I want to know practice. Well, this professor then can't prove it at the Empire State Building. So he goes out to a field, raises a balloon to the height of the Empire State Building in New York, and as a contraption with pennies, and he releases the pennies. And these pennies fall, and sure enough, when he gets hit, it barely feels like a tap. I think that what we really need to focus on is understand the myth. What's the story? The theory is important because it's logically explained, but practice, how does it work in real life? That's what I want to know. And let me just do this. Perfect. So I'm going to give you this mini lesson in business now that you've heard of myth, theory, and practice. It's all about perspectives. Everybody has a perspectives. Now, perspectives are our view of the world and what we think the world is. Now, let me ask you this question, and I hope you go to chat and respond. Where do our perspectives come from? Where do your perspectives come from? You have perspectives. How did they come about? What's your thoughts? Where do perspectives come from? Just go to chat and type something in. And don't worry, it's all no one sees you or anything. So what's your thoughts? Where do perspectives come from? Okay, so Erica, what is your goal in life? Perspectives. Yeah, so perfect. Personal experiences. Okay, where else may your perspectives emerge from? Perfect. The way you see the world. And how did that come about? You're on the right track here. We all have these perspectives. Okay, hang on. Sorry, let me just see this. Where do our perspectives come from? Okay, think of it this way. Your perspectives have emerged from family, friends, society and culture, religion, social media, television, because we're fed all this information. So our perspectives emerge from everything around us. But what happens is we start viewing the world through a lens based on what's provided to us. Now, why is it important to understand perspectives? Well, the reason being is people who have perspective, we all have perspectives, but we need to understand and appreciate perspectives, because what it does is it provides us a view to the world. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, I also have traveled to the Middle East to speak and to teach. And I remember the first time I went to the Middle East, people said, oh my gosh, it's such a dangerous place. Why are you going there? What was interesting is I got there and I came back and people are like, so how dangerous was it? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's extremely dangerous. And they're like, so what was it like? Terrorism and bombs? And I said, no, the dangerous part was trying to cross the road. And they just couldn't fathom, because they don't have road safety in the Middle East in the countries I visited. So, but their perspective was it's one of the most dangerous places in the world. Whereas for me, the road safety part was the most dangerous part. So now this is what an example of perspectives can be. And I've seen this happen in workplace settings. Two people arguing. One person on the right side, they see 3. And if you count the wood there, it's 1, 2, 3. The person on the left side sees 1, 2, 3, 4. And I see people arguing because they have their perspectives. They're so focused on their perspectives. They're not willing to talk to the other person. And when they're arguing, I go to the person on the right side and I said, you know, how many do you see? And they say 3, and I count 1, 2, 3. And I said, come with me on this side, and I take them to the left. How many do you see now? And the person says 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's 4. And the person on the left says, see, I told you, you're an idiot. You know, there's 4. Why don't you ever listen? And I said, no, you on the left, come with me to this side. And all of a sudden it's like, count how many there are. And they're like 1, 2, oh, there's only 3 here. Both parties are right because they each have their own perspectives. And really what we need to do is respect people's perspectives and realize that our perspective is not necessarily the only one that runs everything. So I've got an exercise, and again, this is where I do need participation or this exercise is not going to work. I'm going to give you a slide, and I want to have you think of only one word that you would use to describe this image. So put it into chat. Okay, the ocean. Please put one word and only one word to describe the ocean. Beautiful. Okay, lovely. Thank you. Vast. Anyone else? Dangerous. Perfect. Huge. Anyone else? Tell me about the ocean. Enchanting. Any other words? Okay, Rico, wet. And Susie, soothing. Perfect. Any other words to describe the ocean? Interesting. Okay. You know, and what I really like, and Alex says deep. Okay. Susie says scary. Perfect. Okay. Here's the reason I want to share this with you. It's really fascinating and interesting. And this is where the participation is really important. And Susie also said unknown. Really great words. Okay. And why it's really important to understand this as an exercise. In fact, I was on a call earlier today in Zimbabwe, in Africa, sharing this exercise with them. Because if you look at it, which one is the right word? For the words that we have here, unknown, scary, deep, interesting, wet, soothing, enchanting, huge, dangerous, vast, beautiful, but which one's the right word? Okay, Susie, all of them. But they can't all be the right word because it's a perspective we all have. Susie, your perspective of scary unknown must be the right one, right? And everybody should listen to you, right? Okay, it depends on the context of the conversation by Alex. Perfect. It's interesting because some see it as calm. Some see it as dangerous. So how can something be calm and something be dangerous in the same scope of things? That's the part that always amazes me, because somebody may see it as calm and the exact same thing someone sees as dangerous. Now, what if someone has a different perspective? Why is it important to have differing opinions in an organization? What do you think? Why is it important to have differing opinions? What's your thoughts? Put it into chat. Why is it important to have differing opinions and not just one opinion? Any idea? If it comes to come to the best solution, explore different perspectives. Perfect, Susie, thank you. It forces us to have empathy to others. Thank you, Alex. So we can have a broader view of the subject. And I love this, Eriko, the truth has many faces. Very true. Here's the thing, but the thing in business that I've experienced is a manager is going to have a perspective. In other words, let's say if I'm the manager and you're all employees, and the word ocean, my word is calm. So who said dangerous or unknown? Sorry, we can't work together. And when I've done this exercise, I've had people say mermaid, pirates, sushi, the waves or sand. What is it? Why? Okay, the person, if we're looking at the word ocean and I see deep and I see calm, why do I need somebody who sees sand? Why is that important? Somebody who sees the sand. And I'm talking about the ocean. Why is that person important? Why do I need them? Because they see the context as where the ocean is. Perfect. The way I look at it is, for me as an individual, and Susie for sure, to broaden your own view. See, I'm a broad thinker, like I'm a conceptual thinker. The person who sees sand are going to see flaws in my idea, or they may say, but I think you're missing this point, because they're very detailed focused. So it's really important to have differing opinions. But in management, somebody's going to have their idea and they're going to push it through as because they think it's the right thing. And they're not willing to listen to others. And it's also about this aspect of perspective, opinion, and truth. Perspectives lead us to a development of an opinion. So our perspectives lead to the development of what we form, fashion, and forge as an opinion. Now, once that happens, our opinion now becomes our truth. We know that this is true. But is it really true? So now, for example, COVID-19, hoax or real threat? I mean, there are some people who are just adamant that it's a conspiracy. Some who are just like, it's the worst thing that's going on right now. And I want you to listen to see this, because I question this. Which one sounds worse? 1 out of 6 Canadians feel COVID is not that serious, or 17% of Canadians feel COVID is not that serious? Which one sounds worse? The first or the second one? 1 out of 6 or 17%? Okay, 1 out of 6. Okay, thank you, Susie. By the way, Susie, you're being very attentive, and I appreciate all the conversations you're doing here. The first, okay. 1 out of 6, they're roughly the same amount. First, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Here's the thing. When the news reports, breaking news, 1 out of 6 Canadians feel COVID is not that serious. Everybody starts looking around, because you can see in a shopping mall, all these people, and you're like, out of all of that, one of those 6 people of every part doesn't think it's serious. But if the news reported 17% of Canadians feel COVID is not that serious, people would be like, well, yeah, that's just a normal progression. So it's interesting, because 1 out of 6 sounds more serious, but you are correct. They're exactly the same amount. I can live with 17% of Canadians feel COVID is not that serious, but when you put it in the terms of 1 out of 6 Canadians feel COVID is not that serious, it sounds a lot worse. So this is where you really have to understand perspective, opinion, and truth, because the truth is somewhere there. It really is about balance. And when we talk about balance, consider online education and traditional education where you're in the classroom. And we all have an understanding, opinion, and a perspective. But here's the thing. Prior to March 2020, people never really thought about online education as a primary source. Now, what are some of the challenges or fears that you have with regards to online education? What's your thoughts? What are some of the fears that you have? Put it into chat. What are some of your fears? If you have any fears. Okay. Alex, great. Less interpersonal relationships. Students know improving their social skills. Erica, for sure, self-cheating, because now how do you monitor it, right? So there are challenges. What are some positive aspects to online education? Can you think of anything? What's a positive piece? Its goal in nature is accessibility. Perfect, Alex. Global, yeah. I mean, I've been in a call in Zimbabwe, and I'm going to a call in Australia after this one. Flexibility, yes, definitely. Flexibility is so critical with online education. Very good. What's interesting is, think of it this way. If you were to have me in class live as a lecturer in person, you only get me once for that moment that we're together. Now, with online education, I do a PowerPoint audio voiceover and I release my slides prior to the lecture. So you can check on them anytime you like. I'm going to go live on Zoom with my class and we do a recording. So you get it live and you get the recording. So there's 3 ways that you're able to get my lecture, not one, which is just the live one. As well, I think it was Yao who said flexibility. Flexibility is true. You can do this whenever it's convenient for you and whatever time zone you're in. But here's the third part that I think I really, from a business perspective, need you to really grasp at is, I think online education and the work environment where people are working from home, this is going to be the way of the world. We're going to see more and more people and companies say, why am I paying for so much office space? Susie, you come in on Monday, Tuesday. Alex, you come in on Wednesday, Thursday, and the rest of the time you can work from home. So let's get used to this online education. And when you consider both, you have much more of an open perspective that will emerge as a result. So balance it out all the time with, and don't just go by one side of it. Balance it with, and think of it from a much more deeper, broader perspective. And the truth. Where is the truth? It's somewhere in the middle. What you need to do is, number one, put your biases aside. So that perspective you hold, you just have to put it aside for a while and say, I'm going to go with this with a much more open mind, which is the second one. Be open-minded. Now, just because there are facts doesn't mean it's true. People can put whatever they want, and sometimes people will what we call cherry pick whatever they want, and they see that as the truth. The next thing is, don't rush to conclusions. Take the time to appreciate what's being shared. Also, if we get into an argument, don't make bold and abrupt statements that you find to be true, because it may not really be true. And know when it's time to stop. Like, in other words, there are times where you must just, basically say, okay, I think we can agree to disagree, and we don't have to be on the same page on this. But know when it's time to stop, where it goes from task to relationship. You don't want it to go to a relationship conflict, and then everything spirals in a negative way. And finally, don't be offensive. Someone may hold on to that truth and believe it to be true, so never feel like yours is the only one. And Alex, thank you. Facts don't exist in a vacuum. They exist in the context that we try to make. Very, very good point. And respect. We can have differing opinions, ideas, and thoughts. I always take the time to respect people's opinions and perspectives, whether it's about the pandemic, finance, government, religion. I will never talk to someone in a negative way that they're wrong. I want to understand and embrace, how did they come up with this, to better understand and appreciate. It's also, what I want to share with you is, all of you that are here are building a story. I'm going to shift a little bit into storytelling. When I wrote my first book on storytelling, I wrote down this: what's the last story you read? What's the last story you told? What's the last story you lived? And that last one is the important one. What's the last? Oh, I just recognized that there's a typo there. What's the last story that you lived? In other words, that you can say, here's what I got to do that was an amazing adventure. Now, I did TEDx SFU and discovering the extraordinary in the ordinary. So if you type my name in there, you'll come up to my TEDx speech. And I came up with this idea of storytelling as carpe. And carpe, which is carpe diem, seize the day, but carpe is how I build my stories. Carpe, which is, if we can have something that's ordinary, through carpe, I'm able to make it extraordinary and build a story around it. CARPE stands for curiosity, appreciation, reflection, perspective, and experience. You embrace these, and all of them, you can convert the ordinary into the extraordinary. And I'll explain each one of them. Curiosity is going through to the world with your eyes wide open and stopping when you see something that is unique. But it could be something simple. Simple as, for example, a piece of a jigsaw puzzle. That's ordinary. And I'm going to make this extraordinary in a minute, because then there's also appreciation, appreciating this for more than what it is, reflecting on it and adding purpose and meaning to it. I have perspectives on what this single piece means, and experiences, building it into a story. Because if you don't do that, your story dies an untimely death. So I'm going to talk about the puzzle analogy, connectedness and making sense. And I'm going to convert this from ordinary to extraordinary. It's ordinary when you think of a single piece of a jigsaw puzzle. And I hope that if you come to Vancouver, I can give you a piece of a jigsaw puzzle. I've given over 5,000 pieces in the world to date, and it's to remind people how important they are. Because if you get one piece of a jigsaw puzzle, there's not much you can do with one piece. It's ordinary. But instead of thinking of it as one piece, if I give you a piece of my puzzle, and from a satchel like this, do you realize my puzzle is now permanently incomplete without you? Do you realize how important you are? We sometimes forget that. And when I share that with people, it gets taped to a mirror, and people say it reminds them that someone told them that they matter. It's traveled around the world in their backpacks. It's in their wallets, and they show me at events. But it's such a simple thought of how you can take something ordinary and make it extraordinary. It's also about making sense. All of you are going to try to solve your life puzzle. What does life mean? If I came and dropped a 5,000 piece jigsaw puzzle on your table, but I left with the cover, what are you building? You don't know, because I've taken the cover away. What you want to do is take 5,000 pieces of that jigsaw puzzle, throw it way up in the air, and hopefully when it lands, it all makes sense. But puzzles in life don't work like that. You're going to have to build it piece by piece and section by section. Well, let's say you start building your life puzzle. You start building a house, because that's what you're finding pieces of. And halfway through building the house, you start finding pieces of a ship. And you start building a ship, but the house isn't done. And halfway through building that, you find pieces of a car. The house isn't done, the ship's not done, now you're building a car. Your life is in segments and sections. Instead of trying to solve your life puzzle, try to find those connecting pieces. The people, the stories and experiences that draw the sections together. Instead of doing the whole puzzle, try to find the key people and pieces, because then it sometimes makes sense. Because that one piece can actually connect two sections together. That's an example of how you make something ordinary into extraordinary. My final words to you. You have to face your fears head on. It can be nerve-wracking, because you're going to be traveling to another country to study. Don't worry, I'll be there. I will always be accessible, but face your fears head on. You have to. Also remember, you're born with wings, but we forget that we can fly. You've got experiences and things that you have collected along your way, people that aren't going to let you fall, and your experiences. These are wings that you have that we never really know that we have. And you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, it's hard for me to believe in yourself. First and foremost, build that into your life, that you need to believe in yourself. And I'm going to tell you that anything that you want in life, it's there for you. It's waiting for you, but you have to earn it. Persistence is going to pay off until you throw a limitation. As soon as you put a limitation up, you're not going to accomplish what you set out to do. Now, a couple of quick little stories, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Winning the lottery, but losing the ticket. Do you realize that in life, you're going to have many winning lottery tickets? What I mean is not the paper kind where it's millions of dollars, but situations and occurrences. I met this one person on the streets of Vancouver, and he seemed lost. And I helped him get to his destination, but he had just moved here from Toronto and wanted to drop his resume off in a hotel. And I said, look, here's my card. I know people at 3 different hotels and I'll introduce you to them. Do you know what? He won the lottery because I'm connecting him to these people that potentially might hire him, except he lost the ticket. I never heard back from him. Now, maybe he found a job. Maybe he thought this is too good to be true. Maybe he lost my card. Whatever it is, I just want to share with you that you're going to have these occurrences in your life, these tickets. Make sure you make the most of it and just follow up because you never know where it may lead. Making a big impact in small ways. I call this the teacup story. I had a group of students go down to Washington State for an academic competition, and they got to meet a lot of individuals from other schools around the world and senior people at JP Morgan, a financial hub. After the talk and they had a meeting with all the students, everybody said their thank yous and left. My coach came back to see and talk and thank the senior most person. And he noticed while they were talking, the senior most person was taking the teacups from the tables and putting it onto the sideboard. And what was interesting is my coach said to that person, there's people here to clean up. Why don't you let them do it? Because I'm sure you must be very busy. And he said, you know what? I am actually really busy. But here's the thing. I would never do this at home. Like, in other words, I would never let someone pick up after me. I have to pick up. But he said the more important thing is I had a room full of bright, intelligent, articulate students. If one of them picks their teacup and moves it to the sideboard, that's the student I want to talk to. Always remember this. Now, you don't do this artificially. Now that I've told you this, you don't go to an event and pick up your cup and take it to the sideboard and say, look, I'm taking my cup here. I look for a job. I need a job. I hope you're looking at me doing this extra stuff. The whole idea is you just quietly do this because people are watching. You make a big impact in the most small, insignificant ways that you may think it is. But people like me are watching. I had one of my students, every class, at the end of every class, she would stand by the door and say, thank you for today. And on the last lecture, I told her how much that meant to me. And she goes, I didn't even realize. She just said, I was just being polite and I really enjoyed your class. I said, but you know what? It really mattered. Do you know what? I'm still in touch with her, even though she's in Korea right now. And I'm just going to wrap it up. So why is it understanding perspectives important for the workplace? Because perspectives allow us, and to understand perspectives, an open mind allows us to accomplish greater things because it allows us to see the world differently, and people can help us see the world differently. Building and sharing stories is important in the workplace because it's your personality and who you are as an individual that you're sharing with people. And what do you gain from a session that perhaps might not have been aware of? This is how I teach my class. This is where I want it to be more than just a lecture out of a textbook. I want you to walk away going like, okay, that was really interesting. The last thing I always ask my students at the end of the lecture, what did you learn today that was interesting and engaging? Not necessarily a theory from the textbook, but just something that says, that was something I really enjoyed today. I want to leave you with this. My signature tagline, this is what I live by. Everyone's life is an autobiography. Make yours worth reading. Do you realize every single one of you is writing an autobiography? Think about it. And how are you going to challenge yourself to write it so that it becomes interesting and engaging? I really do want to thank you for the opportunity of sharing today. And I do hope that somewhere universe brings us together. If you do come to FIC and SFU, make sure you seek me out and let me know that we got to spend time together today. Here's my contact information. So please feel free to capture this, and you never know, you may connect with me there. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to hand it over back to the people who are organizing. Erico, do you still need me to put my slide back up just in case people need to see it one more time?
Yeah, of course you can share
Okay.
the slides. I can put the information in the chat as well.
Okay. Perfect.
So
There. So, oops, I think we lost it again.
I think we are all inspired by your class today, Professor
Thank you.
Sen. So I also invite the students
Yeah.
to give the feedback, if thumbs up if you like it, so we can share our
Yeah.
experiences. And also if you have questions or want to share something.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah, Melka. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Alex. And Julia, my pleasure as well. This is what I enjoy doing. Okay, Alessandro has a question. How would you like to ask? So Erica, you could, I'm going to stop the share.
Okay.
There we go. And then I don't know how you want to handle it, but yes, there's a question.
So you mentioned how it's important to respect all opinions. And so I'd like to ask you, do you believe that dangerous opinions should be respected?
Okay, good question, by the way. See, I think that we need to understand people's perspectives. What I would say is, but it's also dangerous in whose perspective. What I may think is dangerous may not be in someone else's perspective. For example, you know, if I said, and dangerous could be something as simple as, you know, I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. Somebody's going to be like, that's really ridiculous. Do you realize how many people have died as a result of climbing Mount Everest? But if I'm an experienced climber, but they don't know that, it's no longer dangerous. So I think what is important is, you know, we still have to understand, I'd say respect the source where it comes from. Now, if somebody comes up and says, oh, you know, terrorism is actually a really good thing, or, you know, the opioid crisis and drugs really is not that big of a problem, it doesn't mean we have to necessarily respect it as a truth. But I think we need to then question and say, okay, so when you say that terrorism is not such a bad thing, okay, explain to me how. And I think by using inquiry, then we can have a logical discussion. Does that help you?
Yeah.
But a very good question, Alessandro.
Thank you, and I agree. And also a superb speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Alex, do you believe that there is such thing as as objective truth? Actually, what I would ask Alex is, could you clarify what you mean by objective truth, just so I'm clear? I'm not sure if you're typing or if you just wanted to unmute and ask.
You can use the audio, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was typing it out, but what I mean is, do you believe that there is any piece of information that isn't in some way biased by the context in which it is used?
Yeah. Sadly, I think that information can be twisted and information can be manipulated to the benefit of anybody. You know, and that's where we saw this in the U.S. presidential election under, you know, Trump for many years was, you know, and some people don't want to believe it, or they feel that the media is manipulating the truth, and some people are like, how could you not see this? It's fascinating because, Alex, think of it this way: two people looking out the window. One person says it's a beautiful sunny day. The other person says, oh my gosh, it's dark and it's raining, and they're looking out the same window, but each one believes that theirs is the truth. And only by inquiry and exploring to try to better understand that somewhere in the middle, okay, how does that person see it as dark? How does that person see it as light? How does that person see it as sunny? How does that person see it as raining? So it it's one of those that we as individuals need to ask questions. And one of the quotes that I always share is one that says, don't just answer the question the answers. And I think that's a really important thing, is sometimes we just, answer the questions and raise your hand up and say, okay, I know this, I know that. But maybe sometimes it's a matter of questioning the answers to say, but is this real? Or how did you come up with this as information? I hope I've answered it, Alex.
Yes, you did. And
Good.
you actually reminded me of a quote which says, I believe, that we should always trust people that are seeking the truth, but never trust the ones that say they found it.
I love it. That's a good quote. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, in my class, the one I teach at SFU, on one of the assignments, it's a personal statement where they have to tell me who they are. I've asked them to say, what's your favorite quote? And put it in there, but tell me why it's your favorite quote. But that's a good one, Alex. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else?
So we have time for another question if someone wants to make the final ones, or perhaps you can just write your feelings, and if you like it, the class, and we are going to the prize draw in a minute. So
ooh, prize draw, exciting.
Yeah. So no one. Last chance. Okay, so I think the class today was really inspired. Thank you, Professor Sun. We are going now to the prize draw. Então, I go back to Portuguese. So, Fábio, você pode compartilhar a tela do sorteio, por favor, para a gente fazer agora? O Fábio vai compartilhar. Passa a todo mundo então a todo mundo que se inscreveu em pelo menos 3 mocks do mês. Pode sortear. Então, GTTM 10 foi quem ganhou, parabéns. Eu não sei se a pessoa está aqui ainda. Se quiser entrar para dar um oi. Eu não sei se foi a Giovana, se foi o Gustavo. Mas de qualquer maneira... Ah, foi a Gabriela.
Gabriela Durskin.
Oi, Gabi. Dá um oi pra gente.
Oi.
Parabéns, viu? Eu vou entrar em contato com você e aí a gente te manda o brinde, tá bom?
Ok, obrigada.
Obrigado você, Gabi. Então, eu queria agradecer a todo mundo e a gente vai ter bastante novidades aí para as próximas mocks e outros prêmios legais também. Então, agradecer de novo, que todo mundo continue participando. Bye bye, Professor Sen. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. I hope to see you in Vancouver.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Professor Sam.